moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now is the opportunity for public comment. The clerk advises me that we do have one person who wishes to address the commission this morning, and I'd call to the stand Mr. Navarro, the District Court Administrator.
Chairman, Commissioners, good morning. I wanted to formally introduce myself. My name is Minister Steve Navarro. Excuse me, the weather's got my throat going. Just this last December, I was not appointed, but I was picked as the new court administrator for the 25th Judicial District. Finney County is one of the 6 counties as part of the 25th. So I formally wanted to come and put a face to the name. Obviously, we're trying to play catch up. We've been in a bit of a transitional phase. Our previous administrator was out due to health reasons and wasn't able to come back. So I've been trying to kind of clean up, pretty much reestablish new communication lines with you and with the other 5 counties. I will say it's been great working with you guys, Dory, Robert, the whole staff has been really easy to work with on this transitional period for us, especially between fiscal years and all that fun business that goes with that. So I just look forward to working with you guys closely, obviously, and hopefully we can work together as partners to meet my goal of making the 25th Judicial District the best district in the state. So, and if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. If not, feel free to always call my office. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
All right, any questions from commissioners? No. Commissioner Navarro, thank you for all your work, and thanks for coming over and introduce yourself. We look forward to working with you as the administrator. It'll be fun when budget time comes.
Of course. Thank you.
Any other public comment, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Very good. We'll go ahead and take up our business agenda as amended with the consideration of emergency proclamation. Paul?
Hi, morning. Paul Ressley, Finney County Emergency Manager. Called Chairman Schultz last Friday because we had a large wildland fire out here at Kincannon Wildlife area. Started in the ditch, and we were burning about 300 acres. We fortunately no dwellings were affected, but due to the large amount of dry grass and everything, we decided we needed some more help, so we were able to get that thanks to getting a declaration declared, and we kept the fire to approximately 300 acres, so it was all down around the wildlife. The ground was owned by Wildlife and Parks, so again, it was all out in public ground. So.
Any questions for Paul with regard to the reason for the emergency proclamation?
Paul, the fire just started coming off the highway or something?
Yeah, there was a hay truck that had caught on fire, and it spread into the ditch when he pulled over. The bales were falling off, and we were able to get a hold of Ursi Condal out there. They come over with a loader and a tractor and help get some of that stuff off. Public Works Department, Kaylee, had water tankers out there and then some heavy equipment for us, so we were able to contain it to that, but it had already spread too fast by the time we got out there to keep it from going into the field. So, but with the weather forecast the way it was and with the wind shift and the dry humidity, there was a lot of concern, especially north of us. It was all open pasture ground, so it could have burnt from here to Interstate 70 for all we know at that point in time. So we were trying to get it pretty well contained, and the guys did a heck of a job. So
Paul, when was that again?
Friday.
Friday.
The proposed resolution says the Board of Commissioners that a state of local emergency in Finney County, Kansas declared on the 27th of January. That date is incorrect. That was
24th.
Be the 24th. Shall continue and remain in effect in accordance to potential and or anticipated state and federal financial assistance initiatives unless terminated earlier. That the response and recovery aspects of all local disaster plans which are applicable to Finney County and shall initiate the rendering of aid and financial assistance and guidance thereof. That's the resolution that is requested. The actual resolution in final form, we can take up next week since we're meeting on the 3rd. But I do want to ask the commissioners to approve the declaration of the emergency last Friday. I need a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the declaration of the emergency resolution to be finalized on February 3rd. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll get the resolution signed next week.
Okay, thank you.
Next on the business agenda is the adoption of the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan. Good morning, Mackenzie.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. So this morning, the Board of County Commissioners is asked to hold a public hearing to consider and approve a resolution to adopt the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan 5-year update. In accordance with Kansas state statute, every county within the state of Kansas is required to establish a solid waste management plan or management committee, adopt a solid waste management plan, and then perform a comprehensive update every 5 years. Finney County is due to adopt its 5-year solid waste management plan update this year. Kirk and Michael was selected by the Board of County Commissioners on October 7th, 2024 to complete the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan update. The Solid Waste Management Committee did meet on December 19th to review the completed plan and recommended approval of the plan. So before the adoption of the plan, the board must hold a public hearing. A notice of public hearing is required to be published at least once and in the official newspaper at least 15 days and not more than 30 days before the hearing is held. The notice was published in the Garden City Telegram on January 11th, 2025. Following the public hearing, the board will be asked to consider and approve a resolution to adopt the plan update. So after holding the public hearing, your alternatives before you are to either consider and approve a resolution number 4-2025 to adopt the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan 5-year update, or to not approve the resolution 4-2025 to adopt the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan 5-year update.
We'll first ask any questions. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mackenzie with regard to the plan? If not, then I entertain a motion to open a public meeting for the hearing on the adoption of the Finney County Solid Waste Management Plan.
So move, Mr. Chairman, that we open the meeting.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to conduct a public meeting for the purpose of hearing any comments with regard to the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are conducting a public hearing. Is anyone here from the public that wishes to address the county commission with regard to the proposed adoption of the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan? Hearing none, we will continue. Then we will close the public hearing upon motion of a commissioner, please.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's back to us. Anything else for our consideration, Mackenzie?
No, sure.
Question.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. Mackenzie, I didn't read the whole thing. I've been on that committee before. That's a lot of, anyway, question was, in the past few years, we've had unusual environmental events at feed yards where we have massive amount of deaths in cattle and those type of things. Was there anything addressed in the solid waste plan about that?
There wasn't anything specifically in the solid waste management plan to address that. I know that there is mention of like disposal areas, but it didn't actually create like a structure of
There
what to
weren't
do in
any
those events.
restrictions put on to where they couldn't dispose of the animals.
Not that I know of.
Any other questions for Mackenzie? If not, then is there a motion to adopt the 2025 Solid Waste Management 5-year plan as presented?
I move that we accept the plan.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 2025 Solid Waste Management 5-year plan.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I apologize. There is a resolution to adopt that. It's resolution number 4/2025.
Do you have that resolution for us?
I do, sir.
Why don't I hand that down and I'll read it? Whereas the Board of County Commissioners has determined that protection of health and welfare of the citizens of Finney County requires a safe and sanitary disposal of solid waste, and whereas pursuant to KSA 65-3405, a Finney County Solid Waste Management Committee was organized, a solid waste management plan was developed and prepared, and whereas a public hearing was held on the 27th day of January 2025 at approximately 8:30 a.m. in Finney County Commission chambers on adopting the Finney County Solid Waste Management Plan. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Finney County that the adoption of the Solid Waste Management Plan is necessary to establish and maintain desirable and adequate solid waste management practices that are agreeable to the health and citizens of the county and the quality of the environment. Signed the 27th day of January 2025. Commissioner Basky, was that your motion?
Yes.
And is that your second? Commissioner
Yes.
German? Any other comments on the pending motion and an adoption of the resolution? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Would you hand that to Larry for signature and come back? Next on our business agenda is consideration of the appointment of members to the Finney County Committee on Aging. And Ms. Thummel, Executive Director of the Finney County Senior Center. Good morning.
Good morning. We have had 3 of our past board members became ineligible after the December meeting. They were Sue Knight. She put in 2 3-year terms for 6 years for us. Sandy Howley and Brenda Unruh both left due to personal reasons. We are bringing forward Kathy Poole. She is retired from the school district. She also comes to the senior center, serves many different hours as volunteer and participant. We have Kelly Munyon from Finney County HR. We feel that Kelly would be a great asset to our HR at the senior center for some guidance. And then we also have Vaughn Hahn, pastor and businessman for many, many years in Garden City. Our current board members at this time is Nathan Heck. He is a chairman of our board. He is also the pastor at the Nazarene Church. We have Rick Van Meter. He's our vice chair. He is retired from Sunflower. We have Jennifer Mojo, who is a CPA here in our community. She is our treasurer. And then we have Carol Huschild, who is a member of the senior center, participating in everyday activities and then on our association. She is our secretary. So we are just asking for approval of Kathy Poole, Kelly Munyon, and Vaughn Hahn.
Questions by commissioners to the director? Motion then on the approval of the appointment?
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of the three as presented.
Second?
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve the appointment of the persons as requested from the director. Any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our business agenda is to hear from Dante Thompson, planner, on consideration of waiver request on specified property here in Finney County. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Dante Thompson, I'm a planner with Neighborhood and Development Services. And before you today, the property owners of 4755 East Hillcrest Road are requesting a waiver from the zoning regulations to allow new manufactured homes to be placed on the property. The property is currently zoned MHP Manufactured Home Park District and contains approximately 1.99 acres. There are 5 manufactured home lots on the property, but only 2 are occupied with homes. The property is serviced by the Finney County Sewer District and an on-site water well. The property does not meet the development standards to be considered a manufactured home park as defined in Article 11A of the Finney County zoning regulations. Based on a visual inspection of the property, staff determined the standards not met include the lot not having a minimum park frontage of at least 300 feet, no sidewalk system provide connectivity and access to recreational areas, no recreational facility, and staff is not aware of any storm shelter present on the property. Additionally, the existing manufactured home lots do not meet at least one of the development site standards of Section 11A 0.60 of the zoning regulations. Specifically, the lots do not provide a concrete slab for a carport patio or any other accessory use. Although a property may not meet the current development standards of a manufactured home park or lot, Article 11A of the zoning regulation contains at least 2 sections that define grandfathered manufactured home parks and non-conforming manufactured home parks that allow properties to continue to bring in homes on existing home lots. The first section, grandfathered manufactured home parks, has specific requirements for a park to fall under this category. This includes the park existing before August 6, 2007, containing at least manufactured home pad sites or lots that each have their own existing and operable electric and gas meters, and the home can meet the minimum 10-foot setback requirement from the front property lines in another home. In the case of 4755 East Hillcrest Road, lots B, C, and E no longer have the meters present. As a result, the property does not meet the standards of a grandfathered manufactured home park. An existing home park that does not meet the grandfathered section may still fall under the non-conforming manufactured home parks section. This would allow a home to be placed on an existing lot if it has not been vacant for more than a year. If the lot has been vacant for a year, then a manufactured home cannot be replaced on that specific lot, losing its non-conforming status and the ability to bring in a new home. In the case of 4755 East Hillcrest Road, lots B, C, and E, the property owners have told staff that the home has not been there for several years. As a result, the zoning regulations find that these lots have lost their non-conforming status and a new manufactured home cannot be brought in. When the property owner first contacted Neighborhood and Development Services in December 2024, staff notified them that the new home could not be placed on any of the current empty lots as they did not meet the criteria outlined in the zoning regulations as specified above. The applicant later returned to discuss their options and determined the waiver would be their only option to place a new home on the property. Attached is a letter of request from the property owner. Staff has discussed similar situations with and rejected building applications from the owners of MHP zoned properties across the county that no longer meet these standards. However, staff is unaware of a similar request considered by the county commission in the past. There are 2 alternatives in front of you. The Board of County Commissioners may approve the waiver request and allow manufactured homes to be placed on the lot, or 2, the Board of County Commissioners may not approve the waiver request, not allowing the manufactured homes to be placed on the lot. Staff is unable to recommend approval of the waiver request, and a member of the property owner is here as well.
My question to you is, do we know how long the homes were removed that a placement of the home now is in what relationship to the non-conforming manufactured home parts section of the zoning violations?
When
Your report where it says several years, the zoning requirements have a arbitrary determination of vacant for more than 1 year, correct?
Yes.
Do we know how long they've been vacant?
When the property owner originally came in, the lot that they wanted to place a home on was E, and they told me that E has been vacant for at least 17 to 19 years. We did not discuss B and C, so I don't know how long that's been vacant for.
Other questions from the commissioners? All right, hearing none for the planner, would the landowners like to address the commission? We have received your letter, Raymond and Maria. Do you wish to address the county commission? Good morning.
Morning.
Mano, necesito permiso para un parqueadero, es para una hija mía nomás y ya.
Sir, if you would, please speak into the microphone.
Oh.
We are broadcasting this so everybody can see it online, and if they can't hear you, then they'll gripe at me and my cell phone will light up. So if you would, please start with your name, and ma'am, if you would interpret for us, that would be really, really nice. Thank you, Maria.
Ok, mi nombre es Raimundo Figueroa, tengo aquí 27 años que llegué aquí a Garden City. Compré ese lote y nomás necesito el permiso para un lote para que mi hija viva ahí y ya. Los otros dos no es necesario.
Hi. My name is actually Lisa. I just came for something else, but so I'm going to translate what he said. And he said he's been here for 27 years, living here in Garden City, and he just wants at least one lot to park a trailer. That's all he asked for.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for the homeowner? And also keep in mind that everybody has reviewed his letter to the board dated December 28th.
Did they give them a list of things they have to do to make it qualify?
I don't know, we'll ask the planner.
Dice que si le dieron una lista todo lo que tenía que presentar, lo que tiene que hacer para poder parquear una trailer.
Sí, lo presenté.
Yeah, they did, and he addressed everything that they had listed for him to do.
Los lotes ya tienen drenaje y he pagado taxes. Yo lo compré hace 2 años nomás el lote.
He said that the lots have everything that will require a trailer to be sit right there, and he's paid taxes for the last 2 years on all of the lots.
Y estoy pagando el drenaje.
And he's paying for the water, sewer, and everything that's there.
Any other questions, commissioners?
I guess for the planner, whenever.
Right, we'll hear from the planner again.
So you're not wanting to bring this up to a mobile home park?
No quiere ponerlo para poner más trailers para que ahí nomás una
Con ese me conformo.
Yeah, no, he just wants to park one of the, one trailer there just for his daughter.
Porque tiene más espacio.
There's more room forward for that area. He's just wanting to put just one mobile home right there.
Okay.
If no other questions for Mr. Figueroa, we'll hear back from the planner.
Thank you.
Mr. Thompson, we're at a kind of a crossroads for purposes of planning. Your report notes that this commission has never granted a prior waiver. Explain to the commission your recommendation to not grant 1 year for one mobile home.
In this case, the zoning regulations have specific language that addresses a situation just like this. Other waiver requests that the county commission has considered, there might not be that language. And on top of the commission not considering a request like this in the past, we were unable to recommend approval of the waiver request.
Well, we have a new commissioner who has considerable experience in planning and zoning. I'm going to ask her to ask you any questions that she might have before we consider this application.
Absolutely. Dante, so rezoning is not an option, is that correct?
So the only zoning district that would allow this lot to have the number of homes that it would have and conform with the zoning regulations the most would be the manufactured home park district. If he wants to bring in a new home, he would need to come he would need to bring the property in conformance with the current standards. And he doesn't meet the current standards. He doesn't have the minimum park frontage of at least 300 feet. He doesn't have the sidewalks that provide connectivity, and he doesn't have the storm shelter to make it a current manufactured home park.
So this waiver would only allow the one mobile home for family use?
Yes. Well, it depends on what the county commission decides to do. I think the owner is requesting for B, C, and E to bring in homes eventually, but it's ultimately up to what you as the commission decide.
So if we would recommend approval for one mobile home to be used for family and not to be eventually used as a rental property, that would be acceptable?
I believe so. I think that's been done in the past. I think that might be a question for the county councilor if that's something they can specify with their approval.
Does every other mobile home out there in that neighborhood meet zoning requirements?
Not that I have done a specific look at. I would probably think probably not, but it would take a look at if they have meters and if they have the storm shelters and a lot of the little things.
I'm pretty familiar with that neighborhood, and I would guess that the great majority of them don't meet the same requirements that we're requiring or asking this gentleman to meet, so.
Any questions, Commissioner Yates?
No.
All right. Well, I'm going to speak my opinion. I'm not in favor of waivers, generally. And you know that as well as anyone else, given my 2 years' experience with them. This one, however, is for one home on an isolated piece of property that the only reason why the owner can't do it because it was vacant for 17 years by their own and without government determination as to the amount of time that it was vacant. It otherwise has all of the criteria met for a grandfathered manufactured home park. But he can't meet the 10-foot minimum setback from the property either. So I will not be voting in favor of the waiver. Commissioners, we need to make a decision. Is there any other questions for the planner or other comments?
I guess without seeing a visual picture, there's, it does have rural sewer district attached, okay?
Correct. There are services
But
available.
there is, and a water well for the one trailer.
I think from that conversation, there's one water well that services the whole property. So each lot and then the other home that they also have on the property.
Well, that's always been the problem in the past is when you have neither one of those services, then you have real issues. But mainly where you got a sewer district to be able to hook onto, that solves a lot of troubles.
They do have a picture that we can pull up, Commissioner, if you'd like to see it. Would you please cause that to occur? There's a picture. There you go.
Okay.
That gives you a relationship of where it is. If you would, there's Hillcrest Drive.
Okay. And the lot that's in question is which number?
It's lot E, which is right above the 4755. It's circled there.
Oh, okay.
And it's family members on the other lots as well?
I believe so, according to their letter and our conversations, that it's family that they want to keep on the property.
Well, to get this off dead center, I move that we grant the waiver for one trailer on that lot, or the one home on that lot, and for family members only, and not rental property.
I second.
For purposes of clarity, are we limited and get to Lot E on the subject tract?
That's the one there, yeah, yes,
And we're not granting a waiver for lots B and C, correct?
no.
Should we have the waiver prepared by the county counselor and reviewed and filed so that the waiver runs with the land and applies only to Lot E and is specifically limited to family members. County counselor, what do you say?
I'm trying to figure out how it is that we can limit this waiver to family members only, as far as that part of it goes. I think it's easy enough to limit it to the one Lot E and not the other two lots, but I don't know how we can put something in this waiver that this isn't gonna turn into a rental, so.
That's correct. But I wanted the commissioners to have that in mind, that our waiver requests, we can say that we want to limit it to family members, but I don't think we can enforce it.
So it's different than a conditional use permit. It couldn't be done similarly to that?
The waiver on this one really is going to be, can you have the trailer on there or can you not have the trailer on there? So, I mean, I realize that the intended purpose for this individual owning it right now is he's going to, it's a family compound, for lack of a better word as far as that goes, but I don't know that our waiver is something that we can limit down.
That's true. I suppose if the property sells, that'd be entirely different, so.
Well, then can you apply the waiver to this owner only? And then not to the property itself? Say, if he does something with it, then the waiver doesn't go with it.
I mean, at what juncture, I mean,
I don't,
at what juncture is it that we're going to be getting to, it's been on there for 20 years, and that's where it is at that point in time, because we've already granted the waiver, so, I mean, I think there are issues with any of that.
Okay, there's, any other discussion? There's a motion on the table for approval of the waiver for the installation of a mobile home on Lot E on the subject tract. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Motion carries 3-2. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Next on our business agenda is the waiver request from 3108 West Catherine Drive. Good morning.
Good morning, John Persisto. I'm one of the planners with Neighborhood Development Services. Lisa Contreras is requesting a waiver to allow for more than one semi-truck and trailer to be parked on her property located at 3108 West Catherine Drive, Finney County, Kansas. The property is currently zoned RR Rural Residential and contains 3.17 acres. There is currently a home and 2 accessory structures on the property. The property owner received a violation for parking a semi-truck on their property without a conditional use permit on September 20th, 2024. The property owner came into our office and discussed with staff what their options were. Staff recommended applying for a conditional use permit as it allows for only one truck and one semi-trailer to be parked on the property. Additionally, the property owner asked if if they would be allowed to have more than one semi-truck and semi-trailer on the property. However, the RR Rural Residential District does not allow for more than one semi-truck and one semi-trailer on the property as a permitted or conditional use. Staff discussed with the property owner that if the conditional use, permit for one semi-truck and one semi-trailer would not work for them, the other option would to be apply for a waiver or rezone the property to I-1, I-2 Light Medium Industrial District. This zoning district includes truck and rail terminals as a permitted use and would allow for more than one semi-truck and semi-trailer to be parked on the property. However, there could be additional requirements to bring the property up to code for an industrial use. In addition to rezoning the property, a conditional use permit application would be required to apply for a night watchman's quarter to ensure the current residential home remains compliant with the zoning regulations. A conditional use for one semi-truck and one semi-trailer to be parked on the property was granted on November 20th, 2024, and since receiving the conditional use permit for one semi-truck and one semi-trailer, the property owner requested to park additional semi-trucks and trailers on the property. A similar waiver request was approved for the property at 3095 Mason Court on October 21st, 2024, and the applicant is requesting to park up to 5 trucks and trailers on the property. There are 2 alternatives before you today. The Board of County Commissioners may approve the waiver request to allow for more than one semi-truck and semi-trailer on the property. And 2, the Board of County Commissioners may not approve the waiver request to allow for more than one semi-truck and semi-trailer on the property. And staff has no recommendation for this waiver.
Okay, and can you tell me your reason for no recommendation?
It's because it goes against the conditional use permit, which explains it in section 5.030, section 11. It only allows for one truck and one trailer on the property.
When we granted the additional waiver on 3095 Mason Court, we had statements in the presence of the adjoining landowners asking us to grant the permit and stating that those landowners assisted in the maintenance of that street as well as taking care of their neighbors in the time of snow and some other matters. Do we have any neighbors that have participated in the preparation of this presentation?
No, but during the BZA, when they got their conditional use permit, there were no complaints or no one was not in favor for the one truck or trailer.
Notice was given to all the adjoining landowners?
Not for the waiver request, but for the conditional use permit, yes.
That
Correct.
time they
Yes.
got notice?
Mm-hmm.
And did we give any notice today prior to our consideration of this waiver? Did you?
No. Or wait,
All right. That's all my questions. Commissioners?
If I remember right, we had a lot of adjoining landowners that appreciated their maintenance and care of that circle, so if there's no complaints from the neighbors, I don't have a problem with it.
I certainly don't either. I know that it's very difficult to find truck parking because there's not really any places for trucks to park in our community. As long as the surrounding neighbors wouldn't have a problem with it, I certainly don't have a problem with it either with having additional trucks.
Do you think we should put a limit on the number?
I think right now it's the waiver just for what, 4 additional, 5?
yeah, yeah, up to 5,
Up to 5 and no more than that.
correct. And then I believe the last waiver did tie it to the current property owners as well.
It was personal to the landowner.
Correct.
I do have the waiver that we did for that last one pulled up. The waiver was limited on that one to the current owners of the subject property. The waiver was limited to a total of 5 semi-trucks and trailers, and the waiver was to be filed with the Register of Deeds.
They want an additional 5 to the, what would they, we've already waived.
Up to 5, correct? Up to 5, just 5.
I would make a motion that we approve a waiver request to allow for up to 5 semi-truck and trailers.
I would second that motion.
With regard to this motion, are you requiring a waiver to be prepared and filed of record and run with the land and limited to these owners?
Yes, sir.
Is that all right with the second?
Yes.
The amended motion before the board then is the waiver up to 5 vehicles restricted to the current landowner, up to 5 trucks. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. My nay vote is because we haven't heard from the adjoining landowners. They weren't given an opportunity to address the commission, nor was there any presentation of their consent to this waiver. The motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll next hear from Lana DeVolf from the Economic Development Corporation.
Good morning. As you all know, we had our annual meeting last week. Thank you for those of you who were able to attend that. We had a really good turnout and shared some really good information. All of our economic indicators continue to climb. We keep thinking we're gonna level off at some point, but we just keep growing right now. So that's a good thing. If only our housing could keep up with our growth, that would also be great. Things that we're working on right now, we have legislative advocacy things coming up. We'll be in Topeka for various events over the next couple of months. So if there's things in particular that come up that you all feel you need some support on or would like for us to take forward for you, don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to take additional information or lean on those folks in any way we can for you. Again, things we're working on: housing development. We're making some progress, but certainly not fast enough, certainly not as fast as any of us would like. We do have some landowners who have purchased residential properties to develop and stalled out at some point over the last few years. We've got a couple of different offers out on those properties right now from other developers who are in a position to move quickly. So hopefully we're able to get those properties into the hands of the folks who can move quickly to get them developed. Commercial development, we have some areas that we're expanding into and have some meetings later this week with some commercial developers to hopefully get plans in place to move forward with that. Light industrial development, as most of you are aware, we have a real shortage of the light industrial lots available, and we are working on remedying that with some other developers here in town. So that's a good thing. And then also at your next meeting, we'll be bringing forth a reappointment request for Sam Hands, who's been serving on our board of directors. He's one of your appointments to our board. For you new commissioners, you may not be aware that the way our board members are appointed is based on the funding. So the city of Garden City has 3 appointments to our board. You as the county have 2 appointments, and then the city of Holcomb has an appointment, and the Garden City Community College has an appointment. So those are 3-year terms with no requirement that they have a term limit. So again, I'll be bringing that back at your next meeting. Happy to answer any questions I can for you.
Please know that the fee schedule for the industrial district is being moved to the 3rd also, and we'll get you on the agenda for the reappointment to the Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. DeVol? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next week. That brings us to the pay request for the additional services provided on the waste management project. Mackenzie?
Good morning again, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development Administrative Coordinator. So this morning, the Board of County Commissioners is asked to consider and approve a request from Kirkham Michael to authorize additional funds for the services provided that were performed on the Solid Waste Management Plan update. So as previously mentioned, on October 7th of 2024, the Board of County Commissioners selected Kirkham Michael to complete the 2025 Solid Waste Management Plan update. And that amount was for a total of $3,500. So however, due to some unforeseen coordination issues, Kirkham Michael's staff spent a significant more amount of time completing the plan than initially anticipated. Kirkham Michael is requesting an additional $700 to cover the cost of the additional services performed on the Solid Waste Management Plan update. And so just to give a little bit more background on this, so the amount that they did give us to begin with was very bare bones. It was the very bare minimum of what they were to provide. As we got into the Solid Waste Management Plan update, it worked better to have them as the central contact point for all of the different agencies that we had to communicate with. And so there was some issues with trying to get a hold of some of those agencies, and they spent quite a bit of time just trying to get the information to put the plan together. So the alternatives before you this morning are either to consider and approve the request from Kirkham Michael to authorize additional $700 for services performed on the Solid Waste Management Plan update, or to not approve the request from Kirkham Michael to authorize additional $700 for services performed on the solid waste management plan update.
Thank you. So that our auditors are watching, Robert, here it comes. The requested funds, is there sufficient funds to comply with the cash basis law?
Yes, we had actually more budgeted for that in the '24 budget for this project.
And therefore it complies with the budget law as well?
That is correct.
Motion to approve the additional expenses or any other questions for McKinsey on this payment?
So move, Mr. Chairman, that we grant the additional funds to Kirk and Michael.
And who do you want to authorize to sign?
You can sign.
All right.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the additional $700 expense. It's been shown to be compliance with cash basis and budget law. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll sign it.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda is to hear from Sean Harding, the assigned architect. And also with him today is former Commissioner Dwayne Drees, who remains chairman of the LEC Jail Construction Committee. Gentlemen, good morning. It's more fun seeing you over there than right here.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Chairman.
I do. Former Commissioner Drees, thank you for agreeing to serve our county in such an important role. Sean?
To give you a little bit of background, when I left on December 16th, you guys had made it, first of all, good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. You guys had tasked HMN with putting together a contract to move forward with the jail component of the project because it is considered the pinch point in moving forward with the remodel of the law enforcement center across the street. On January 9th, we met with Chairman Drees and with Robert Reese about how we would set that AIA contract up. And we've put together a contract for review. I believe it's been sent on to legal. What we decided and what I was tasked with from Chairman Drees is so we limit the exposure of the county. We needed to take this set of documents to a point that did not encompass the entire cost of a set of construction documents. So what we've done is we bill monthly, just like every other professional service does, but we also bill to phases of work. And so what we've done is we've discussed taking this through design development, which is the second phase, schematic design development. And at that point in time, we would be about the same time as the referendum vote. And we would know then whether we were moving forward and as I said earlier, limiting the exposure, the cost of total construction documents would not be incurred by the county. That's where we're at this point in time.
Okay, and as I understand it, schematic drawings, the step-off is $451,000. And explain to me what DD means.
Design development.
That's 20%, and then what's CD?
Construction documents.
Right, and at what point, the plan here is to seek a half-cent sales tax to fund the construction of the new jail, as well as the improvements to the LEC. As you know, we gotta go to the legislature first, then we have to go to the voters, and the anticipated vote on that is in November. Which of these levels will you have completed? At what time would we owe you for for work done if the vote in November should fail?
So that's where we would discuss getting to design development. At that point in time, we can get a much more accurate estimate of cost through that phase. There is discussion of materials, dimensional information, things that a guy can look at, a contractor can look at, and put a value to. So that's the point where we decided we would make that cutoff for the referendum vote. Then we would know far better where we stood on cost of the project, as well as limit your exposure to the full cost of the construction documents, which CDs are about 40% of what we get paid for.
Well, it appears to me that we need design documents in order to inform the voters adequately of what we're gonna build.
Correct.
So we're looking at $1,053,500
Correct.
to get us to that point.
Yep.
And when would that information, the design information, be available so that it can be reviewed by the commission and then approved and then available for the public prior to that, well in advance of that vote?
I think that's where we need to determine. We discussed that we thought August was the right time frame to have that information.
All right, I've consumed quite a few questions. Commissioners, do you have questions?
I do. Is this plan just strictly for a new jail?
Yes, sir.
And no consideration for any other offices along with that, say for Sheriff's Department or Police Department? I mean, do you guys feel with what you're planning on doing, you feel very comfortable with if you have a new jail that you can get the current law enforcement center to the standards that it needs to be at?
Yes, I think by eliminating most of the issues that occur across the street are involved with internal systems, and we would eliminate the huge majority of those problems by taking the jail component out.
Okay.
And as I mentioned on the 16th, I think people question whether, the Sheriff's Department needs an entire floor and the Police Department needs an entire floor. 40-some years ago when this thing was built, they shared that space and they've shared it since. Things have changed, departments grow, and we determined pretty quickly that the area necessary for those two groups to function in that building made splitting those into two different floors made more sense, as well as we were looking at and making improvements for the EOC, GIS mapping, and IT services over there in the lower level.
The plumbing issues and the water issues and all of that would be addressed, and then creating some additional workspace for the Police Department, Sheriff's Office from.
Correct. Kind of centralizing, almost thinking in terms like a spec office building, and kind of centralize some of the plumbing areas in the building, which there will be a little bit of work that will have to be done on the way the concrete structure is to make sure that we're not, drilling holes in areas of structure that we can't. But the idea right now is to centralize some of those plumbing areas and eliminate some of those long runs of plumbing that are causing a lot of the problems in the building now.
An HVAC system would be.
Yes, this earlier on, we talked about some of the estimate of costs, and one of the things is the roof and the HVAC system. Also, with that in mind, and you're gonna have me running down rabbit trails here a little bit, the needs in a business occupancy are far different than they are in a housing occupancy. So there will be some improvements and less costly need than what they currently have.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for the architect? Yes, sir.
At what point will we have an idea of the cost factor for the jail and also for the remodel of the law enforcement center? And again, and I'll revert back to the question about, is there a need for that office space? I think both Kevin and I can attest there is a need, and these aren't wants. I firmly believe that these are truly needs for the law enforcement center, the jail, for the PD and the sheriff's office. I think there's a lot of work that's been done in this, and this is truly a need, not a want.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working with the chief and the sheriff, going through that and just recognizing that they've kind of been pigeonholed into that 1980 space, and you're correct, these are needs. We are constantly looking at the cost trends that we've got right now. We have people that we work with on a regular basis, and we're bidding projects on a regular basis. That number constantly moves, as you might guess. One of the things that was discussed was also, at some point in time, we wrote the contract around construction management at risk. And at some point in time, the process of hiring somebody for that role, they will also help with the estimating of cost, take it from something that we're taking from historic data and trends that we recognize from bids on our projects to somebody that works in the area or knows the area well and can dial down that number better.
So this would be available by August, you're thinking?
That's what we discussed, to give you guys all the campaign time that you would need to move forward this for a November vote.
Being on past bond issues and sales tax issues, is 3 months enough time? And I know you're departing, Robert, but is that truly enough time? Because there's a lot of work on campaigning for this.
The work can actually begin, the educational process can actually begin today.
Sure.
You won't know the exact numbers and so forth, but Sean can provide you really some general numbers based upon some market values on per square foot for jails and per square foot for administrative facilities. By way of example, jail facilities are anywhere from, what, 850 per square foot?
And
Plus or
up,
minus,
depending
yeah,
on
plus
what
or minus.
amenities that they're asking for, labs and stuff like that.
And administrative is somewhere around 450, somewhere in that
Yes.
range. So you can talk in general about the approximate cost and what that may look like in general. And that's how you've, in essence, sized that sales tax request that would go to the legislators for their consideration.
And is there, when we did the expansion of the current jail in 2000, and we passed the sales tax issue, I think all of the governmental agencies that receive funds from that sales tax agreed to put all of their allotment towards this project. Is that going to happen in this project as well?
Yes, the request that you're going before the legislators is a dedicated sales tax, in essence, which is above your 1% allocation. Dedicated meaning it all comes back to the county for this specific purpose, to retire the debt of this project, jail LEC project. Perfect. And you'll have that authority for up to 30 years.
For Commissioner.
Do we have a location where the jail would?
We are working on that. The other thing I would mention is, what we found is that our bonds that pass have usually been based on explaining the need more so than a solution. So as Mr. Reese had said, we can begin this campaign immediately, talking about some of the concerns and needs. I think people are far more concerned about that than seeing what the building might look like or some of the amenities that they're going to gain. But I would leave with the idea that we will be giving and feeding information to you the whole time that we're doing this. I've handed a plan off already to the sheriff and the undersheriff because we've already met and talked about things that might change or improve that plan that they had started with. Same thing with the spaces across the street. We'll be continually looking at that, meeting with people and making sure that they meet those needs.
Thank you.
and I'm going to allow the chairman here to speak.
Can I ask a couple of questions first? Because that was my thought as well, that we don't have a location identified yet specifically. Will that change the drawings based on location?
That's my question.
significantly? Okay.
Yes. No, it won't. Right now, we're looking at open areas. We do not want to go into any residential area and condemn 2 city blocks, for example. Time delay, expense, bad public relations. So we are definitely looking at open blocks of land that we can put this facility. We have in our mind 3 or 4, but we still need to do a lot of research and find out how availability of those 3 or 4 locations are. I'm going to go back to some of these general questions. Why Sean has already designed and did a lot of former groundwork of what this facility would look like after the jail is built. We kind of split this into basically 2 phases. If we don't get approval for the whole project, that changes what happens across the street. So what kind of broke this into 2 phases. The first phase is design of the jail and what that would look like. And granted, we do need to sell this as a need, and it is a need. So the sales tax issue that Minister Reese has brought up is going to cover both projects, the financing of both projects. But what Sean has produced here today is the first step on design of this jail, which is, I'm going to relate this back to my profession as farming. I'll take a piece of ground, I work it for 4 or 5 months, I plant the crop, 8 months later, 6 to 8 months later, I harvest it, I find out what I got. This is the same thing we're asking you to take a chance, like a farmer would, invest $1 million in the groundwork to expedite this process by a full year. If you wait until we pass the issue, we basically added a year to this project. And the first set of the projects is, I'm going to guess, 3 years before they can open the doors on the facility for a jail.
8 months to draw and 24 months to build thereabouts.
Okay, he said 8 months to draw, 24 to build. So I think we're concentrating today on the preliminary groundwork on getting this design that we can explain to the public. And granted, yes, we will start tomorrow, if we can, I talked to all the coffee sessions guys. The guys at the coffee sessions have had a lot of answers and questions. So questions for me?
We're looking at 5 acres.
5 acres minimum, 7 preferred. If we can get a little bit more for room for expansion. I would really not like to settle for 5. I'd at least like to see 7 or 10, just for future possibilities.
I agree, yeah. Dwayne, I know one of the questions I get is, what would it cost if we fix the old one?
Two-thirds of the
estimate.
Well, we'll let Sean throw that number, but basically it's just a little over half if what we would have to rebuild it for a jail facility. Maybe it's about 65% to refurnish this as an administration facility instead of fix it back up so it's usable for jail. And remember, that's only about a 20-year fix if we leave that as a jail up there.
People ask me, that's where I'm coming to this question. They'll say,
I've been asked if we're going to tear the whole building down. Absolutely not. Structurally, the building is there. It's just the internal components that need a lot of love.
rough projections, it would cost $70 to $80 million to redo that one. Make it feasible or not?
When we first looked at that, and I think that's 23 numbers, we were at 34, 35 million for repairs of that building.
Just the jail, not the.
No, that was doing heavy demolition. Now there are other costs associated that I don't touch. But they would have to be factored into that. You're gonna have to house all those inmates out. There's transportation costs, there's manpower, there's some other things that go into that had nothing to do with the construction of that. There are some other things that I factored in with some number, but I don't know if it would be totally accurate, is just how you're going to bring materials in and out of the building as it is, without having to open an area up to bring some materials into the building itself and maintain that security aspect of it. Even if the people are out, there are walls you don't want to touch, and it's hard construction. The walls are grouted full. There's a lot of rebar in them, and it's a concrete structure. So you got to be a little bit careful about. You can't just drop a skid loader in on the 3rd floor and clean stuff out. There'll be a lot of hand demolition on that.
Any other questions, commissioners? I have some if you don't. Sean, first of all, you build jails for a living, right?
Correct.
Would you build a jail on the 3rd floor?
No, sir.
That's the end of my questions about whether we're going to keep the LEC as a jail facility. I think the taxpayers will understand that, and your opinion on that's very clear. The second part of my question is that no matter whether we're completely 100% successful with the taxpayers, the fact of the matter is that there's some immediate concerns that we need to address in the LEC, and I want to be able to have the flexibility to understand whether we need to act on those reasonably now. We have our partner in government, the city, occupying a portion of that building. They're set to leave in September. Is there anything that we can do to work together with government to make that place habitable? Because it's going to take several years in order for us to have the financing, the funds. For instance, we passed the sales tax in November. The voters say yes to our plan. That tax is not started to collection until April, which means you can't bond it before then, if I understand that correctly. The administrator will correct me if I'm wrong. But the bonding side of that means you have to have the actual revenue stream committed, and construction on our new jail facility, which we need to have before we do a considerable remodel, puts us in that 24-month period, which means I'm looking at 2028 to get to the concerns of occupying this building across the street. So I know that's a long story without a question. I'm not here from the federal government. I'm not Senator anybody. But Sean, under those circumstances, the funding mechanism is such and the construction period is such, and Chairman Dries, have you had a chance to consider what we need to do in the LEC now, if there is any, in order to assist in making that building what it could be, put a Band-Aid on it until we get to that 2028 mark?
Several things have been brought up in the process. Your person in the maintenance department has had several questions to me about using a product that would seal and waterproof some of that structure, which does not stop the problem of the leaks. It controls the leaking and keeps it confined to an area. That is truly a Band-Aid, as you mentioned. I don't know that there's anything with the infrastructure of the building that I can start on now that doesn't affect the function of the jail. We discussed, I think, on the December 16th, there are things that we can move forward on in terms of the plan of the LEC that would give us a head start on that. And that's, I think, how we came to the conclusion that drawing the jail makes the most sense, because we move a portion out of that building that then opens up the LEC for a larger construction piece in place at that time. If there was funds available that we could, again, work on plans for that and get that to the point where things could be bid, I think you're going to see it have to be bid in phases at that point in time, though. The lower level probably has the most opportunity to get some of that put in place prior to, and could work probably in same construction time frame as what the jail would be, or maybe even sooner.
Thank you. Commissioner, or Chairman Drees, do you have a comment on that?
As far as the numbers, no, I don't think it's ever been truly discussed what it would take tomorrow to make that a functional. So I can't speak to those numbers. As far as the contract that's in front of you, I have asked, and he's did a great job with this. There's a lot of legal speak in that, but everything that applies strictly to us and to this building and this commission has been highlighted, and I appreciate that extra effort from his department to do that. So you don't have to read all the legal speak.
I have one thought. It seems to me that priority should be put on finding a location. It sounds like this is something that we need to do.
That is the next
quickly.
direction the meeting is going to focus on. And again, we need to contract some landowners to make sure that's even a consideration. We're drawing up a list of those names, and Robert and I assume next week or two we will be contacting these individuals and then putting in front of our committee.
I don't know if you have spoken to Finney, Lana, or anybody with Finney County Economic Development, but they are exceptionally good at locating properties.
I spent a little bit of time in there, not in the last few months, but yes, they are very helpful.
Excellent, thank you.
They've got a couple locations on our list, so.
All right, the matter before us for consideration is the expenditure of $1,053,500 to bring jail plans to life from schematic to design, which gets us to the point where we would be at election time. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
And Robert, who is set up to sign this contract with HMN?
It can be you, once it is in draft form at this point in time, just for the commission's consideration. And that's one of the things that I wanted to, for clarity, is this the contract just for this first phase, and then the second phase would be an addendum to the contract, or is it for the first two phases?
This is an AIA contract that covers all the way through bidding and negotiations. However, in the contract, it is written that that can be terminated at the end of one of those phases, or at any time, but we had discussed the design development would be the point that we would make our consideration, pass the referendum, passing or not passing the referendum vote.
So this is a commitment for that $1,050,000.
Correct.
Okay. And once again, this was written under the understanding that we would use the CMR, Construction Manager at Risk process, which is the agenda item following this item.
Correct.
Okay.
Which you also have an update on funding with regard to proposed bill.
Correct.
Very good. All right, commissioners, any other questions for the architect or the chairman of the LEC jail committee? Is there a motion to approve the going forward with the design, schematic and design and the full contract, knowing that we have, if it does not pass, we're committing now $1,053,500.
I make a motion that we approve this contract.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract as discussed and as set forth in the contract. Before we proceed, legal, has this got your blessing?
And I think the contract as it is right now was in draft form. I'm not sure if you're ready to pass it today, or?
Yes, you would authorize the chairman to sign that agreement.
Okay.
Subject to review by council? All right, let's go back to the motion, and then can we amend it to chairman sign, subject to approval by council?
Yes.
Second? Yes. Been moved and amended. that the chairman sign the contract, subject to approval by council. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Sean. And when we get the final draft, we'll get it approved and signed, get you going.
One further comment, Commissioner, Administrator Reese has indicated that potential sales tax referendum for the legislature is going to bring in front of you. I want to stress that in our committees, we wanted to dedicate that half-cent sales tax strictly to this project. When that project is completed, the sales tax goes away. That, I feel for the, when that actual paperwork comes in front of you, I think that's a great selling point for this project, that it's not a perpetual sales tax. It is strictly a dedicated sales tax. I hope you guys would agree with that comment.
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, next item on the agenda is the consideration of the jail construction delivery model. Robert, what do you have in mind there?
As with the Health Department EMS project, we did go with that exact model for that project as well. It's just in essence the Board of County Commissioners agreeing to, by formal motion, to utilize that process as a way of construction delivery for the jail as well as the LEC project as well. I think you've been satisfied with utilizing that process before. I know that those that have been involved with the Fire Department EMS project has been very satisfied with that as well. So I would recommend that Commission utilize that in this process.
And you want a motion and so forth to proceed for construction manager at risk, should the sales tax be authorized?
That is correct.
And are we going to do the construction manager at risk in 2 phases, much like the architect's contract?
Correct.
All right. Does anybody have any questions of the administrator with regard to the jail construction delivery model? If not, is there a motion to approve the delivery model being a construction manager at risk, subject to approval by the taxpayers?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to use the construction manager at risk model for the project in 2 phases, exactly as the architectural contract set forth. Is there further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The second part of this is the funding mechanism. Robert, do you have a proposed sales tax bill that we can authorize and send to the legislature for consideration?
Yes, I believe that was sent out for the Commissioner's review. And that was crafted by the county's bond counsel, Garth Herman. Within that, just a brief summary of some of the items within that sales tax, or the sales tax legislation. Let me see if I can pull that up specifically. Just a point of back on the AIA contract, I do want to make a point of stating that the payment for that agreement, architectural agreement, comes from the LEC Reserve Fund. I did want to make that comment. I think we may have kind of skipped over that. Let me see if I can pull up then.
Well, the reserve fund was at 1.2, wasn't it, basically?
Yes, it's at 1.2 on the reserve fund, so it will cover this agreement. All right. Specifically within the proposed legislation that the the commission has before them is requesting the authority to ask a question for a 0.5% countywide sales tax. Within that, it'll be utilized for construction of jail, remodel of a LEC, with the proceeds of that sales tax to be used solely for the purpose of payment of retirement of the debt to be excluded from the debt limitations of the county. Keep in mind that the county has a 3% total assessed value debt limitation, which is just a little over 18 million. So this will not fall under that. And as former Commissioner Dries pointed out, is that once the debt is paid off, then that sales tax then falls by the wayside. And that is what then, this was crafted to go to the House side first. I think in a prior conversation with you, Chairman Schultz, is that was kind of your inclination that you would prefer maybe it go there first.
I think so, and the reason for it is that Adam Smith is the chairman of the House Tax Committee. This should get referred to his committee for working the bill. Similar bill, as you advised me, has already been worked through his committee.
Yep.
I have not spoken with Chairman Smith about our likelihood, but I am advised by our representatives and Senator Clifford that this will be favorably received, and I'm not going to speak on behalf of the 165 legislators, but once again, I think we have demonstrated to those representatives that this is not merely a want, but this is something that we really need. And I don't think that we should change the format of the bill being introduced in the House and go from there. The safeguard for the commission and the viewing public is that our senator sits on federal and state affairs, which is an exempt committee, which means that they can work the bill at any time before the session ends. So I think we should first start with the normal channels that was recommended by bond council and drafted that way. And it makes sense to get it to the House Tax Committee because this is a tax revenue for a public project. It's a perfect setting for consideration by the House first.
Okay.
So my recommendation to the commission after reviewing the proposed bill is that we approve the bill and authorize bond council to submit it to the legislature for consideration. And he'll need our help to push this thing through. I'm more than willing to take the lead on that, depending on who's going to be the chairman when we get to the end of our agenda today.
Yes, you'll choose somebody here at the local level to go ahead and hand that bill off, whether it's somebody here on the board or whomever to hand that off. Normally, the bond council would not do that.
All right.
Okay. But you would need to approve that to be submitted to the House side.
Very good. Any other questions for Robert on the construction delivery model with the funding mechanism? All right. First, have we approved the delivery model with the construction manager at risk?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes. Then the next thing we need to do is take up a motion for the approval of the proposed bill to be submitted to the House of Representatives for the full legislature's consideration and passing in this legislative session.
I so move. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the funding mechanism by seeking passage of the half-cent dedicated sales tax to the legislature, and we'll designate somebody to carry that bill when we get to the end of the meeting today. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is the fee schedule for sewer district number 4 in the Northwest Industrial, and we're going to roll that over to the February 3rd meeting, if that's all right with you, Mr. Administrator.
Correct, yes, that's fine.
Right. And the reason for that is we have some cleanup we need to do to that resolution. All right, very good. We'll take that up on the 3rd. Next up is the request for the salary request of our newly elected and sworn-in Sheriff, Stephen Martinez. Good morning, Sheriff.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. So, yeah, the Finney County Sheriff's Office is responsible for protecting the citizens of Finney County, enforcing state laws, local ordinance, and court orders. The sheriff is responsible for the management when fully staffed at 102 deputies and civilian staff. The sheriff is also responsible for jail management, which includes the well-being and the custody of the inmates. I'm requesting that my salary be increased to $120,437.10, and that is what Sheriff Mike Warren, the previous sheriff, left at. I've been with the Finney County Sheriff's Office for over 30 years. The past 3 years, I have been serving as undersheriff. I've held the positions of jailer, patrol deputy, crime prevention lieutenant, investigator, DEA drug task force officer, and patrol captain. I have an Associates of Applied Science and Criminal Justice degree from Garden City Community College. I've attended numerous hours of supervisory training to include the FBI's law enforcement, executive development seminar, and leadership Garden City. The alternatives today, the Board of County Commissioners may set the sheriff's salary at $120,437.10 as requested, or they may decline to approve the sheriff's salary request and enter further negotiations. And I recommend that the Board of County Commissioners approve this increase, as I believe this position warrants this compensation. And there will be no fiscal impact to the 2025 budget for salaries, as that's what Sheriff Mike Warren was making when he left.
All right, questions for the sheriff?
First of all, congratulations, Sheriff, as being elected. What year did you start at the Sheriff's Office?
February 14, 1994.
Valentine's Day, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
So next month will be 31 years.
And your current salary when you were under sheriff was?
Right now I'm at $98,175.
And 18 cents.
And 18 cents.
From my perspective, usually I think you know jumping into the same salary as a 3-year sheriff is not always warranted, but in this situation, I think getting, sorry to call you Sheriff Steve, but Sheriff, increased to $120,437.10 is well warranted. You've had some, you've had a captain that left the sheriff's office and went to PD and is making the same amount of money as a starting patrol officer, or as a patrol officer, is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. The sheriff's office is way behind our counterparts across, just across the hall from us, not just across the state or the country. And I know when Mike, requested his salary, he requested when he first started was what the chief of the police department was making. And that was approved. I'm actually asking for under what currently Chief the police department is making.
And that's correct. I reached out to Chief Pruitt and visited with him at length. Part of my thought process is I've discussed with you, Chairman, about the need down the road for a salary survey, and Robert shared the last salary survey, which was 2019. Correct? About there. Which said another one's due in about 5 years, and there's no doubt from my experience in salary surveys in law enforcement, and I work with 72 county sheriffs and police chiefs in those jurisdictions. There's a huge salary war right now going on in law enforcement, and so I do not have a problem with this being a starting point for us, and well-deserved as well, Sheriff.
Commissioner Basque, any comments?
I completely agree with what Commissioner Yates just said. I think this is a good jumping off point, starting Steve at this salary and then letting it trickle down and hopefully become competitive with our competitors around the community for compensation for not just sheriff's deputies, but maybe even for our county employees as well.
Okay, I'm the guy that's gonna get written the first ticket for a bad turn. Sheriff, you filed for office at a salary of $114,000, paid to 1%, correct?
Excuse me?
When you filed for office and were elected for
Yes.
office, you filed by petition at 1%. The salary was set on your petition at 114.
Correct.
That's what you should be paid. The voters elected you at that salary. Commissioner Gurman?
That makes sense to me. I wonder if the, your deputies would have issue with you getting a raise like that right off the bat. You guys have any thoughts, or do you have any thoughts, Sheriff?
Yes, and that's why I actually requested what was less than the chief of police was making, because I don't feel I should be making exactly what my counterpart is when my own deputies fall short of that. So I like the other two commissioners say, I think it's just a starting point to show this commission commitment to improving county wages, not just for the sheriff's office, but countywide, to be competitive and get those employees that we need. We're down 20. We're down 20 people. We're fully staffed. We're 102, and we're down 20. And so we need to do something to, increase our numbers of applicants, and wage is very important. Very important for that. So I just think with, this position warrants what I'm asking for, the work, the liability that comes with this office. So I think it's warranted. And again, I think it'll show a commitment of this commission to increase wages countywide, not just for the sheriff's office, but for everybody in the county, make this a premier place to work for again.
Do you have a plan for recruitment?
Yeah, I do. What we need to do is we're going to talk to our deputies. I think our people are our best recruit. We can spend all the money we want on flyers and advertisement and stuff like that. We need to show our workers that this is a place to work, and in turn, we treat them right. We treat them fairly. We make it a fun place to work, a good place to come to work. And in turn, they go out and they get their friends and families to apply.
That's all I have.
Vice Chairman?
Well, I'm kind of in your camp. I hate to do this, Steve, but I think that until we go through the budget process, we kind of got budgets set, and I know we're woefully behind in salaries in certain areas that, but like the chairman said, that you knew what the salary was when you ran for the job. And we have a budget process coming up in a few months that I'm sure all this will be addressed. And so I would lean towards, let's stay where we're at right now, and when we go through the process, then we change.
All right, if I understand the number correctly, if we stay where we're at, that would be 114,000 and
It's $114,702 is where it was before
702.
raises were done right at the first of the year.
All right, and Steve, Sheriff, my other concern is that we have a lot of other elected officials who are not receiving a similar additional bump. We gave everybody in the county a 5% raise in 2023, and again in 24, and again in 25. And we will consider countywide raises during the budgeting process. I am well aware of the need to raise salaries in law enforcement. But I think that as the elected official, I've stated my position on that clearly, and I can be overruled by my chairman, by my fellow commissioners. And it won't be the first time, and you should know that I appreciate all the hard work that you have done and look forward to your leadership in the Sheriff's Department.
Thank you.
Is there anything further you'd like to say before I call for a vote?
No, sir.
Is there a motion?
I motion that we accept his request for $120,437.10.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the sheriff's salary at, would you repeat that number for me, please?
$120,437.10.
Right. We have a motion and we have a second to increase the sheriff's salary for an effective date back to January 13th. Can I ask you to include that?
Yes.
So that it's clear in the payroll, and is that satisfactory to you, Commissioner? For $120,434.10. Any further discussion?
It's $437.10.
Let me state it clearly on the record then.
Is he trying to take more from me?
437.10. Get that right, Kelly?
I just would like to make a comment, if I may. I agree. I think you most likely deserve that, but I tend to be in agreement with Larry that perhaps this is not the time to make that change. I think as we go through the budgeting process, and especially since we're looking at doing a wage study, I think there may be some adjustments made, elsewhere as well. So that's kind of my thoughts right now.
And if I may, Jerry, Commissioner Schultz, there's no change in the budget because the 120,000 and change is already in the budget, correct?
Correct.
And what is your undersheriff making right now?
Oh, that I couldn't tell you right off the hand.
Free?
Either right there, so.
Huge difference between 108 and 114 for the job titles and duties. So, and I know the chief is at about 127 with almost 4 years' experience as a chief. So I think this is fair and equitable request. I think it's well within budget. It's not going to affect the budget at all.
Any other comments? We'll call the question then. All those in favor of the motion to raise the sheriff's salary to $120,437.10 effective January 13th of 2025, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion fails. We need to set a salary for the sheriff. Is there a motion to set the salary at the amount of $114,702?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to set the salary for the sheriff at $114,702 as of January 13th, 2025. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those, nay?
Nay.
Nay.
Oh, I said I voted in affirmative of that.
You did.
You're quick.
He is fast.
I was jotting something down.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, so the vote is clear. Commissioner Jones, aye. Commissioner Gurman, aye. And Commissioner Schultz, aye. And nay, Commissioner Basque and Commissioner Utes. The motion carries. The sheriff's salary will be set at $114,702 as of January 13th, 2025, and we will revisit this during budget, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Time to refill coffee, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to take a 5-minute break and reconvene in 10:17. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the waiver of generally accepted accounting procedures, which we do on an annual basis. Madam Clerk?
Nothing specific. It's pretty self-explanatory. As you said, this is something we do every year, and that the auditors expect. It's kind of guides their work through the audit.
Any other questions for the clerk? For our new commissioners, our audit is based upon the audit standards for governmental entities and not specific requirements of the AICPA. And so this is something that has been done each year that I've been on the commission. Maybe Vice Chairman Jones can go back how many years? 12, 16?
Enough.
All right. Is there a motion then, sir?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pass Resolution 03-2025.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to pass Resolution 03-2025 as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Official depository, Madam Treasurer.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. So the board is asked to designate one or more official depositories for county funds in 2025. So this is required action by the board by motion. To be a qualified financial institution and hold our funds, the requirements are that the financial institution has to have the ability to secure our funds 100% with a couple different types of coverage, whether that be FDIC or pledged securities. And then they also have to have a physical branch location in Finney County, either their main branch or an offshoot branch. The only exception to that is we can invest funds in the municipal investment pool through the state treasurer's office. So your alternatives today are to designate all qualified financial institutions in Finney County as official depositories for calendar year 2025. Option 2 is to designate one or more specific qualified financial institutions in Finney County as official depositories for calendar year 2025. Or option 3 is to decline to designate an official depository and direct the treasurer as to an alternative direction. I do recommend alternative 1 to designate all qualified financial institutions in Finney County as official depositories for calendar year 2025.
Questions for the treasurer? Hearing none, I would make a chair comment that we really appreciate all the hard work of putting the money that our taxpayers have paid to us back to work, as it's not been all used during the calendar year. It's pretty clear from your report that you've been diligent in getting bids for the use of that money. And I want to encourage you to continue in this regard.
Thank you.
The designation of all qualified financial institutions in Finney County, alternative number 1 is what the chair thinks we ought to do. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
To approve alternative number 1, sir?
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded, designate all qualified financial institutions in Finney County as official depositories for calendar year 2025. Is there any further discussion? I would ask the treasurer, that's what we did last year, correct?
Yes.
All right, very good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Quick question, Trista. That report you gave us on your deposit funds and what you're receiving, you give that to us monthly, or is that?
It's quarterly, yeah,
Quarterly?
and I'll present that a little bit later too. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll designate the official county newspaper for 2025. We had a resolution that we signed last year. Madam Clerk?
Yes, so per statute, it stipulates that the official county newspaper be designated by resolution and that designation remains in effect until otherwise changed. Last year, we did adopt Resolution 01-2024, naming the Garden City Telegram as the official county newspaper. If you take no action today, it will remain as is. Your other option would be direct council to draft a new resolution designating a different publisher as the official county newspaper. I will say that I am not aware of any other newspapers that are eligible in Finney County to serve that purpose, so. My
I think the motion needs to be that we take no action and continue with the official newspaper according to resolution 2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to take no action and allow resolution 01-2024 remain in full force. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Let's go. Oh,
Comment.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick comment, there was a lot of discussion at KLPG on the cost of county monies going to these, and some counties they're trying to adopt their website as an official publication source. And so that, I think there will be legislation this year in the legislature to be able to let the counties do that if they want to.
I was gonna say, I don't think it's allowed right now, but.
It's not allowed right now.
We'd certainly welcome that, so.
We have a lawsuit filed by the Attorney General that the bonding statute required publication on the county's website, and Greeley County didn't have a website. So isn't that fun? So if the legislature would get its work in order and pass that we could publish on our website, that would save us thousands of dollars a year. But that's going to require some dovetailing. When you pass something as simple as not having a designated newspaper, then you have to go back and change the statute with regard to the cost of our tax foreclosure, because it includes all of the quote publication costs as set by law. So we need to make sure that we dovetail all that and get that cleaned up.
It's pretty big because there's election statutes, there's all kinds of statutes that require the use of that official newspaper, so it's big. Mhm.
I didn't think of elections and all of those other things that have to be published.
And now, we did have legislation in the election realm a year or two ago that required us to post all notifications on our website in addition to the newspaper publication, so.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is a joint meeting request from the city of Garden City. Robert?
Last week, we received a request from the city manager for renewal of joint meetings between the city and the county. The suggestion was Tuesday, February 18th, prior to the city commission meeting from 11 to 12:30. We do have a meeting on the 18th. Not certain what the agenda items would be for our meeting, but would hope that we could make that joint meeting work for us. It would be over there at the city building.
Right, and I think that we'll set the agenda for our meeting on the 18th, on the 10th, and we'll keep in mind that we'll need to be done by 11, which I don't foresee as a problem unless we run into a hailstorm or something. So I would ask for a motion to hold a joint meeting with the city of Garden City at 11 a.m. on February 18th, 2025, for it to be published so that we comply with all the requirements, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the joint invitation for a joint meeting. The meeting will be held in the conference room, I believe, at the City Commission building. It'll be open to the public, and it's a joint meeting at 11 a.m.
May I ask a question?
Of course you can.
Are these meetings monthly, quarterly, or is there?
It's not been determined. I think in the past, they may have been quarterly. City manager suggesting perhaps maybe we start off on a semi-annual basis.
Okay. And do we alternate between there and here, or?
No, that's not been determined yet, so, but I think at this point in time, I imagine that it's over there so they can have it just prior to their meeting for discussions, and we can work on making a determination what those topics might be. I'm assuming right off the bat we'll be discussing the LEC project.
They also have the city of Holcomb involved in these too, don't we? Yeah.
That I don't know. I can,
In the past, we've had them, so.
okay.
You would know more than I. We haven't had a joint meeting since '23 when I came on. So this is highly recommended from the community and.
Yeah, I think you need to involve them in it too.
Well, and
The two meetings.
the LEC is a big issue, but also we have some other smaller issues over time that we've worked through. But we have an animal control contract that we need to kind of discuss and make sure council is up to speed with the city's council on what we're going to do with that contract and maybe reach a consensus at the commissioner level and getting it done.
Yeah, we used to have those meetings yearly between the city and county and Holcomb. And it was typically, I don't know that we ever had any here.
I think we've had a few up here.
County building, but yeah, in the
kinda-
past, they've always had them yearly, and sometimes department heads were included in that.
And the city meets on Tuesdays. We meet on Mondays, but we meet on Tuesday in February because of President's Day.
Yeah.
So this works really well.
Yeah.
Just block out your morning until 12:30 because we'll be busy.
So I would encourage that they include Holcomb in their.
Okay.
All right, very good. Well, we happen to know the new city manager out Holcomb. We
Yeah,
might
bigly.
drop her a line, see if they can make it work. Motion on the table for joint meeting with the city on February 18th, starting at 11 a.m. Notice to be given as required by the clerk. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll have a joint meeting. Staff reports, development update from Mackenzie.
Good morning again, Chairman and Commissioners. Mackenzie Phillips, Development and Administrative Coordinator. I have a few updates for you this morning. So going through some of our residential developments that have already, the infrastructure has been accepted. We are seeing that there's going to be permits for Randall Estates coming in soon. We've already received a right-of-way and septic permit. We're waiting for the building permit right now before we approve those. We also, in Country Acres, there is a CO that was either issued last week, a certificate of occupancy that was issued either last week or will be done this week. And there's 2 other houses that are currently under construction. And I believe that they've sold a few other lots from what I saw on their sign the other day. So we also have some movement on the Northwest Industrial District, and for the new commissioners, that area is where the Travel Americas, the TA truck stop, that undeveloped land up there, where like Bruckner's and Kubota Central Power is located. There's been movements on developing the rest of that property. I believe our engineer is going to give you a little bit more of an update later on in Robert's updates. So I also wanted to give you an update. Last time I told you that we had scheduled interviews for the planner position. So we did have interviews, and we're working on scheduling second interviews for following those initial interviews. And then my last update, briefly talking with Alicia Charles, the Assistant Director of Neighborhood Development Services, with all of the truck parking waivers that we're having come through, also the conditional use permits, it's probably a good idea to look at those regulations. I know that we will be working on updating in its entirety the the zoning regulations and the subdivision regulations this year. We're working on the RFQ for that. But with how big of a issue that this is becoming, this might be something that we look at prior to that comprehensive update. So if you would like to schedule, if we want to do a work session in the near future, we could do that to go over some of the issues that we're seeing, as well as maybe potential resolutions to that. So yeah, and that's all I have for you this morning. If you have any questions for me.
Questions for Mackenzie?
Just a comment, Mackenzie, I know, from my experience on the Planning Commission and the BZA, that's a big issue with the truck parking, and it's going to be an issue, based on what our economy is based on, I guess. So I think we need to be mindful of that and be looking for options, what we can do. So I appreciate that.
Anything else? If not, thank you. We'll hear from the treasurer now on idle funds report.
Good morning again. So in front of you, you do have a report about idle funds. The current investments that you see in front of you are as of 12/31 of 2024. So at the top, you do have information on where we have money that is immediately available for withdrawal. Under that, you do have information on current investments. Included in that is a nearly $50 million investment in tax collections. We usually put that into a higher yielding investment for a very short term before we turn around and distribute it out to all taxing entities. Also, you'll see that we have money blocked out through the first quarter of 2026. We try to make sure that we have some investments into the future so that we can guarantee, investment income at that time. At the bottom, you do have information on total interest earned by financial institution in 2024, which totals just over $3.1 million. Does anybody have any questions?
From the commission, anything? I would just say, as I said before, just to keep up the hard work. And how's your remodeling project going?
It's slated to start demolition at the end of this week or beginning of next week. We'll see.
It's going to be all done before the deadline in May for all the taxpayers?
No, it won't be done before May, but it will be done before the December deadline at the end of the year.
Very good. Other questions for the treasurer? Thank you.
Thank you.
County councilor update.
Just update briefly on the tax sale at this point. I'm still working on getting proper service for everyone for the tax sale, which is currently on file. In the meantime, I did go ahead and have the treasurer send me the list of other properties that are delinquent and potentially ready for next tax sale that I would anticipate waiting to file until after this one is complete, but whatever the direction of the board is on that one. Just looking through that list, it's significantly longer than the list that we have filed right now. All those are actually available on the website as properties that are delinquent as far as that goes. The list looks to be about 340 in length. Working my way through those to see what, if anything, can be cleared up prior to getting to tax sale, as we kind of did some of that with the last one. Some of those I think is as simple as trying to reach out to some are entities, some are individuals, but as we can. I think going to sit down as well with the treasurer and perhaps the clerk to see what we can look at on some older ones that maybe we're not really sure about. But the ranges on there of what's owed range between $15 and $160,000. So it's quite the range in what's owed on some of those properties. So.
Well, I think that we need to continue to talk about the issue of delinquent taxes. Where can the list of delinquent taxes be found in one report form?
It is on the website. I'm gonna let the treasurer, since she's here, address that a little bit.
Yes, so we don't have this report published. We pulled that for administrative purposes. The current tax sale that's filed, of course, is on the website and available, but these potential parcels are searchable by parcel rather than a complete list.
Okay, well, that list was circulated to the commissioners, correct?
I did not send out this complete list to all commissioners, as I was directed not to yet.
Okay, I believe that's what I said, but I think that if the treasurer agrees with you, the commissioners need to know who's on the list right now. And we'll administratively work on that. Anything else?
No.
Any questions for the county counselor? All right, we'll move on to the administrator's report.
All right, you received a fund balance statement, cash balance statement. This does not reflect any of the year-end transfers amount. You'll probably receive those transfer requests probably the second meeting in February, I would imagine, as we go through those, finalizing the 13th month process. Did have a very brief discussion this morning with Andy on the health department bids and so forth, and I'll touch base with that committee shortly after this meeting here. All right, sewer project. Anticipate that being completed by the end of March. That's for all 4 districts, so, or 3 districts plus the one sewer system up north. Of course, you have your draft, reviewed the draft legislation. That was a project that Kara and I worked on last week. Report on the VRF HVAC system that we have in 4 buildings. Still waiting the final number and final reports from engineers on that. I shot off another email this morning to get a status report, so we'll know where we stand on that project. Let's see here. We, in speaking with former Commissioner Drees, we do need to get the jail committee and the health department EMS committee back together again as soon as possible for finalization on the health department EMS project and to identify potential building sites for the jail. I'm going to go ahead and have CW come up and give you a brief update on the project up north in the old industrial district, to give you a little status report on the funding on that and where he's at on shooting some of the elevations on the roads and so forth.
Wonderful. Just for the new commissioner's benefit, we made a $5.5 million grant application. CW is the engineer that's been assigned in charge for the county of working that through. And I asked for road designs on a road on the west side in a private meeting with the owners, and we'd like to hear how you're coming along. So if you would tell us how you're doing.
Hi, C.W. Harper, Kirk and Michael, acting county engineer. We got feedback from KDOT middle of December asking for some adjusted cost estimates, basically eliminating South Solar, that portion of solar that we're building on the south side of TA. And in the conversations that we'd had with the RV park, they were kind of preferring having Eclipse just end at their property and go north versus having the cut through traffic go through there. So that kind of worked out fairly well. So basically the adjusted one was Eclipse Ave, which is what we were calling the road going on the west side of the TA property, basically north and then tying back into US 83. They're kind of halfway between the drainage ditch and central power. And then it'll also be rebuilding Acroway and expanding that entrance to match what's across the road, and then realigning Solar Ave to provide slightly more storage, and then basically Solar Ave would dead end at the TA property, and we'd just abandon the rest of Solar Ave that basically goes through TA currently. We got word back from KDOT on last Thursday that we received $2 million in funding from them for that, which the estimated cost for the construction of that portion was $2.1 million. Essentially, the county is fully in charge of the design, right-of-way, utilities. There's not really a match to the $2 million. Essentially, you guys have to pay for the preliminary engineering and then have to pay any additional cost beyond the $2 million. We don't have the official contract from them yet, but that's what the letter of award basically set out.
That's still a substantial award, and it's really good news. So the construction will be solar down to the end of, to the beginning of the TA property, and then the improvements to Acroway over to Eclipse to the west.
Yep.
And then rebuilding and helping out with that intersection. We have some real issues that we need to help TA with when we start this construction, so that we have a minimalization of interference with ongoing operations. We have several businesses along there that we need to be mindful of, and so I'm confident that this commission would like to know what the plan is and how soon we can start putting this grant money in. When will we receive notice that the grant's been approved, the documents for it, and your elevations on Eclipse to the west, so that we can get started with development agreements with the owners to the west on the cost of Eclipse?
As far as the project status, we've got, survey is completed. We are working up some revised concept plans that I want to basically present to you guys and the property owners to basically make sure that everybody's on board with this plan going forward, so we don't get like all the way to field check and then have issues that we need to rework. We are committed to basically doing that. We should get those plans out to you this week and have a meeting next week basically with everybody after you've had a chance to look at them. My management wanted to make sure that I reiterated that while I'm committed to try and get these plans basically done and out to bidding, I think I said basically end of April, with bidding in May, that they're extremely concerned about that schedule. I'm concerned about that schedule. Normally these plans would take about twice that long. But we're going to try and make this all work so that we can try and take advantage of this construction season and get Eclipse Ave constructed yet this year. But they just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that this was going to be a pretty tough undertaking to get these plans done that quick. We're going to have to basically hurry on a lot of the reviews and things like that. So, that said, we are currently working on the basically elevations for the roadway for Eclipse and all that, so we can basically pass those on to the developers and they can start making their adjustments.
Right now we know what the scope of the grant is. What's the turnaround time on the elevations on Eclipse, so that we can include those with proposed development agreements and get, I don't have any problem getting roads built by April. We need plans and we need specifications, and we met with the owners before to have that done. And what I'm hearing today is that's not done, and that's disappointing to me.
Well, we don't have the profile for the plan, or for the road yet. Essentially, we can have that for you. He's going to work on that while we approve the concept plan, because I don't think Eclipse is going to change any. So we should have that for you 1st of February.
All right. That's a very short period of time. It'll work.
We've got the survey done, so at this point, it's just a matter of generating the profiles that match, which.
Right, I want to make sure that Eclipse fits with what Acroway is going to do, so that we're not creating a problem there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Questions for CK on the grant information? How soon will we have something in writing from KDOT?
That one there, I don't know. They're generally not the speediest. So hopefully like I said, I think the letter of award basically gives us that we're funded. As far as when we get the actual contract and all that, I'm not sure on.
All right. We'll work on that. Questions for CK? CW, sorry. Sir, apologize. You've been here many times. Chairman should know better.
Did you want me to cover 83 and the? Yeah. Update on the 83 offset alignment from KDOT. We asked them about, I can't remember which of you asked about moving the box, the proposed pedestrian box closer to the US 83 business intersection. KDOT did look at it. The issue is basically if they they'd have to elevate US 83 to basically provide clearance for the box, which also means that they have to elevate US 83 business. And it just basically, the cost exploded pretty quickly after they started chasing elevations. So that one wasn't really a feasible option.
And as I understand it, the plans and specifications for that project, I don't have the numbers, but I got the email from KDOT. They're ready to finalize that expansion project.
Yeah.
And I met with the homeowners at Southwind during their annual meeting, and they're not very happy. Those landowners think that that is going to be a really bad intersection for our community. There's 283 homes at Southwind with over 900 cars going in and out, and KDOT doesn't think that that's a problem, and the locals do. The city traditionally has been opposed to roundabouts, but that would be one way to get the traffic to slow down for the emerging traffic at Southwind. The south entrance at Southwind, the homeowners there thought the intersection design change that we got pushed through, which is the feedlot road coming up to the north and the existing entrance from Southwind on the west side, coming back to the south and then crossing over what will be old Highway 83 to the new highway to the west, was a design change that was readily approved and greatly appreciated. However, the design issue as it is right now with the 83 and 83 spur or South Main Street coming to 83 is that it is going to be partially divided at that intersection with a little bit of space to pull into the median rather than have to run the gauntlet of both ways of traffic at the same time. On behalf of the owners, and I don't know where the rest of the commission is on this because this is all news to them, is that they would ask before we do that we consider a roundabout there. That's what they asked for. And since you know, I won that primary election by one vote, only because I had more people that lived in the district than Bob. I do have a tendency to listen to what the homeowners out there want, but at the same time, this is the 11th hour because it's ready to be set for contracts and sent out. So with that, I don't know whether you want to try to explore whether a roundabout can be put in there with KDOT or whether you think it's a waste of time. What's your opinion on that?
KDOT is very favorable to roundabouts, so, I mean, if we would have brought this up, you know, 6 months ago to a year ago, I don't think they would have had an issue with that at all. Now we can bring it up. I'm not for sure where it'll happen. Of course, the other side of it is it's a lot cheaper to push it off a little bit now and explore it on paper than it is to have to deal with something once it's all on hard surface.
The roundabout has to be designed and built such that it can handle the wide loads that 83 requires, including the long loads of our windmills.
Yes.
So at going to Hutchison around St. John, there is the huge roundabout spurs, and I don't know that we have the room to do that on the south side. I know that we do on the north side coming into town, but that's a real issue. And this is the 11th hour, and it's up to the commission as to whether we want to seek any changes at this point, because they're ready to send contracts out, including our contract that we've worked with them so hard on, which is the recovery of the roads and how they're going to be left for this expansion. I can tell you that the homeowners at Southwind and I specifically would like to see us build the 4-lane now rather than do this expansive 2-lane passing and then come back and redo it in short order. It just doesn't seem appropriate to build because it's been approved by the legislature when the 4-lane's coming. Why don't we build the 4-lane right now? Because we need it. You know, we talked about our LEC and we want something different. We need it. We need the 4-lane there now. It's time that we explain to KDOT that we need that 4-lane, and that would solve all of these problems if they would build the 4-lane now with on and off ramps at Southwind. So that's kind of a decision, and our engineer needs direction from us whether we're going to move forward with contracts with KDOT, because those are coming. This is final design drawings that we reviewed with KDOT, we being the homeowners association. So, county commissioners, do we want to go forward with the design on 83 as it is now, or do we want to seek any modifications?
Well, now it's time to ask.
It is.
I would, you know, if you homeowners are desiring that type of a interchange, I would ask them.
Well, if you would, Vice Chairman, put that in the form of a motion to ask our engineer to revisit with KDOT the opportunity or possibility of putting in a large-scale roundabout at the proposed intersection of bypass 83.
And leave the bike path tunnel where it is, or
well,
where they've got it in their drawing.
That tunnel, as it sits, is in nowhere land.
Okay.
And if we build a 4-lane, we only got half a tunnel. Right?
Well, you don't hit half the bikers that way.
Well, last we left it, Robert, you were going to work with KDOT on the placement of the tunnel when we had all of those discussions in 23 and 24. And the discussions now is the tunnel's not likely to be close to the bypass intersection. So which leaves us with, what do we want to do with the box? Thank you, Vice Chairman, for clouding the T. I'm sure cloudying is a word.
Well, I move that we have our engineer approach KDOT on the roundabout for the Southwind entrance on the new 83. and not worry about the bike tunnel right now.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to request the engineer to work with KDOT to install a large-scale roundabout at the intersection of I-83 bypass, which is South Main Street, and the new entrance at Southwind. Is there any further discussion?
I have something.
Yes.
So if we do that, if we do a roundabout, does that stay in place if it eventually is 4-lane? Or does that change that configuration altogether? Or do we, at this point, perhaps mention that we think a 4-lane would be
We've done
a great
that several
idea?
times.
I don't know if it would
It's fallen
be
on
worth
deaf
it,
ears.
but I think it's worth mentioning.
All right, it's not in the present motion, but I think you can carry the mail on that, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, they could, I mean, if you had, I'm not sure what the separation is between the two lanes, but increasing the separation might be something that they could do, kind of base it at kind of a 4-lane spacing for that intersection and then bring it back together. And maybe that's something that they could do that would work for now and the future.
When we presented it to the homeowners, the drawings that we had were the blue line specials that we all saw on the screen. And it was unclear whether you could go through the intersection straight into town. The actual design specifications are as you can, but there's a very small area for cars to be in the middle. And those of us who do reside there know that it's not unusual to have between 7 and 8:30 in the morning, 4 to 5 to 10 cars plus school buses. So in line. So if you would make that request according to this motion, we'd really appreciate it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Carry the mail, sir.
When they're in line, they're late. They're always in a hurry.
Yeah. I just think that right now you're going to be trying to cross 2 lanes of traffic at 65 miles an hour, which means everybody's going 72. And we have a lot of the young drivers coming out of Southwind. There's lots of children that are growing up out there, and including my grandchildren, and I don't mean to be too parochial about it, but unskilled drivers with that kind of speed is running the gauntlet. And please know that the worst reprimand I ever gave to a child was when they backed into a car, and I thought it was complete negligence that they were being so inattentive, and within 6 weeks I'd done the same thing. So it's not just the young drivers that are a problem. We elderly drivers need the assistance of design to get people slowed down. That's my point, is that if it's, the roundabouts don't cure the accident rate, it just reduces the fatalities, and that's a great thing. Monthly reports from the Madam Clerk.
Oh, those are your department monthly reports are in your packet. I don't have anything to present on those other than to let you know they're there, and if you have any questions, we can pass those along.
If you would, make sure that we get the joint meeting posted on your calendar. That
Oh,
we
yeah,
just approve,
yeah.
Please.
Mhm.
All right, Commissioner reports. We will go from right to left. Vice Chairman Jones.
Well, I got to spend a little time in my favorite city of Topeka, and we had KLPG, and we had, here is the economic outlook that Adam Prophet presented for the state of Kansas. I'm sure Lana probably sees these all the time when they send them out from the Department of Commerce. But if anybody's interested, you can have this copy. We also had a report from Kansas Rural Justice Initiative, and it was quite interesting that the problems they're having, retaining lawyers and finding enough legal advice for the counties. There was she was complimentary of Finney County and our county attorney for hiring interns and seeking interns from out of state. She practices. That's what a lot of counties need to look at what we're doing here in Finney County. Also had a report from Representative Waymaster, who is chairman of Appropriations Committee. And the chances of, looks to me like the chances of getting property tax relief are going to be slim and none this year. And I would say none's got the lead. It's their revenue estimates are coming in at only about a 2% growth in their revenues into the state, which is far below their needs if they start cutting the mill levies. So I don't know exactly where they're going to do. And they've compressed their budget cycle so much that they want to be done before the final revenues come in the end of April. And so they may have to be called back into session if they have some big corrections to make. And so that was, that was interesting because I didn't realize that they'd compressed their schedule so much, but they have. It was a really good meeting. Had a talk with Adam Smith about our sales tax proposals, and he's fully aware of those. And KLPG staff will help us if we need help on our bill. I know April from Seward County was there, and they got one just recently passed through committee and out for building an overpass, I think. And let me see. Also had a economic development meeting later on that day, and I didn't stay for that because I didn't want to get home at 2 in the morning like Matt did from Topeka. I don't like driving at night with Bambi on the highway, so I didn't stay, but I went and talked to them at their offices a little bit and got a printed out weekly report, so if anybody's interested in reading that, they can. Other than that, oh yeah, I got a Finney County Committee on Aging Thursday. Other than that,
You attended the legislative conference?
yeah, I attended the coffee too.
No startling news, huh?
Not that I know of. Nobody threw anything at us.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gurman?
Yes, I was at the legislative coffee as well. I think most of us were there. I have had a couple of calls from constituents with some concerns, which I have addressed to Robert and received resolution for that. Somebody was concerned about when we had ice and snow at the senior center, and he was able to get right on that and get that rectified. One contact that I had was from a constituent who questioned why we don't have a monthly report from the Sheriff's Department. So I don't know if that's something that the commission would like to see. I just thought I'd put that out there for, the future. If that's something that we would like to see, we could certainly look at that. That's all I have.
All right. Commissioner Baskin?
I too attended the legislative coffee on Saturday, so I'll just work back. Then, I can't remember what day it was. Commissioner Utes and I attended the Conservation District Annual Meeting and had presentations from the city about our water supply, and then just a regular report on groundwater. And then last week, we attended the new commissioner training in Topeka and had a chance to learn a little bit more about what a commissioner is responsible for and what our job entails than what I previously had knowledge of.
Was the commissioner training worthy of the time and expense?
Yes, yes, very much so.
Thank you. Commissioner Utes?
Echo what Kevin said. I attended all three of what he mentioned, but the training in Topeka was well worth it. I appreciate Chairman Schultz and others that encouraged me to go. It was well worth it. Understanding finance, obviously, that was a thumbnail sketch on finance, but as we move along as a commission, hopefully we can learn more on it.
All right, thank you.
One thing I should mention, though, several of us attended Economic Development's annual meeting that was well worth our time and information. As we all know, we need more homes.
Sure do. My report starts with my assignment to Compass. Compass is, of course, an outside agency funded by this commission, as well as 13 area counties here in southwest Kansas. The board was advised that the employment at Compass has now reached 320 positions with 8 vacancies. That's up from 200 last year. So while all of us are suffering with vacancies, it seems that Compass has been able to hire the professional staff and growth in line with their CCHBC designation, and that designation is great news for Garden City. Compass has bought additional property. We'll be letting out bids this year for a complete remodel of a new administration building. On February 19th, Compass will be hosting the Garden City Area Chamber Breakfast, and encourage everyone to attend. The report from Compass does not bode well for us in southwest Kansas as far as providing mental health services. One of the things this commission needs to do is make sure that we are aware in building and constructing our jail that we have crisis beds in our new jail for persons with mental health illness. Larned right now, in Larned, 101 miles from this place, has a 14-bed wait list, and sometimes that takes up to 3 weeks to occur. The other state hospital is Osawatomie, that has a 38-bed wait list, and then no estimate on the time frame for that. The state is constructing a 50-bed facility in Wichita, which is already ingloriously not enough for what we need in our state with regard to mental health services. And that goes back to a little bit in my prayer about taking care of those who need our help. Our need to plan for mental health crisis center in our jail is in the design specifications as discussed with HMN Architects, and we're confident that the new facilities for crisis management and mental health and a new jail will serve the needs of our community for the estimated next 40 years. Finally, with regard to Compass, you should know that one of their longtime employees, Gwyneth Frack, died last year, and she just happens to be the mother-in-law of Lon Finney, our former commissioner and now representative from the 122nd District serving in the House. And Compass was the beneficiary of Gwyneth Frack's memorial at her service, and Gwyneth played the organ, was a fellow organist. And she did so for many, many years at Garden Valley and her churches. And in response to the memorial fund received by Compass, they have erected, and I encourage everyone to go over and see the new memorial bench just outside the west side of Compass's main facility here in Garden City, which overlooks the walking park to the west. It's a nice tribute to Gwyneth Frack and her family, including our former commissioner, Lon, and his wife, Janeth Pishney. That's my report. We will need to have an executive session. County Councilor, what's the length of time that you believe this session will take, and who should attend?
It is my understanding we'll need the administrator, the board, and myself in that executive session. Length of time, 15, 20 minutes.
Let's go with 20.
Okay.
And so therefore, we need a motion to go into executive session. The purpose is to discuss non-elected personnel. And at the advice of the counselor, we include the administrator and council for a period of 20 minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to go into executive session for 20 minutes for the purpose of discussing non-elected personnel with the administrator and counselor present. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're in executive session. We'll be back in 20 minutes. motion to go back into regular session?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go back into regular session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Chair will announce that no action was taken during the executive session. I'm signing our resolution. All right. We have come to learn to understand that the administrator, Robert Reese, has resigned effective March 25th, 2025. And we as a commission agreed with Administrator Reese that he would be employed through the date of his resignation, March 25th, 2024. Current duties and those later assigned by the commission. Is that your understanding, Mr. Reese? All right, very good.
Yes, it is.
Motion to accept the resignation and him to continue in his employ under the current contract through March 25th with the assigned duties to be determined thereafter or hereafter by the commission.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the motion as stated. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Robert, that means that you'll stay in and be our administrator and until such time as we continue finding an adequate substitute, if there is one. The next matter on our agenda is the upcoming events. I thought maybe we had already covered that, but.
Oh, that was the department monthly reports.
Okay, very good. Upcoming events then, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, I would point out that of the events going on in Topeka in February. On February 3rd, there is the Southwest Kansas Night Out in Topeka that's hosted by the Southwest Chamber. And then there is County Day at the Capitol, which takes place on February 6th. And I do believe that, I would have to ask Robert to be sure, but I do believe we have some people going to that. We usually do.
All right, anything else, any questions for the clerk? If not, we'll move on to the reorganization of this commission for 2025. It is our responsibility to elect a chairman and a vice chairman. I am willing to serve in the position of chairman again in 2025, and I recommend to the commission that current Vice Chairman Larry Jones be reelected as vice chair of this commission.
I would make that motion.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
I second.
Let's have two separate motions, Mr. Chairman.
Oh.
Okay, on the call of the vice chairman, we'll have two separate motions. We'll start with the vice chair position.
I nominate Commissioner Gurman as vice chair.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that Commissioner Gurman be elected as vice chair of the commission. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Nay. Motion carries. Welcome, Madam Vice Chairman. So that leads us to the chair. Are there any motions?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we nominate Jerry Schultz as chairman in the upcoming year in Finney County.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that I be the chair again for the third consecutive year, which is an indoor-outdoor record, and I guarantee you it's my last as chairman. In consecutive order.
Famous last word.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. One of my jobs as your chairman is to reorganize the liaison appointments with our outside agencies and duties. I passed this around last week after each of you were sworn in, and Commissioner Jones, you'll keep the same appointments, except that you are now being appointed to be the chairman of the EMS County Health Building Committee, replacing Commissioner Dries on that committee. Sir?
Former Commissioner Dries will still be assigned to that committee, correct?
He is assigned, but he's no longer the chairman. He is the chairman of the jail and LEC remodel committee. And in a second, I'll tell you who's going to get assigned to that. Commissioner Jones will have juvenile detention, local area workforce, CEO board, the Finney County Committee on Aging, and this newly designation, the EMS County Health Building Chairman. Thank you for accepting those appointments. Commissioner Jones, Dave Jones, had the County LEC Planning Committee. Commissioner Utes, you're appointed to that. Parks and Recreation, especially with regard to the allocation of the liquor tax, Commissioner Baskew, you get appointed to that committee. The Library Board, Commissioner Gurman, you get appointed to the Library Board, and I think that you've met them, so that'll be an easy transition for you. Waste Management Committee doesn't do a lot, but yet it meets annually in the fourth quarter. Commissioner Utes, you're appointed. Commissioner Dries' appointments, the Great Plains Development Board, which is this is a board that's in transition because of the termination of funding from the state of Kansas, and this will phase out, but Commissioner Utes, you're appointed. A really important board for this commission is the County Fair Board, and Commissioner Baskew, you're appointed. The other folks that are involved in convention and tourism, an equally important board, Kevin Baskew, you are appointed, Commissioner Baskew, to the Finney County CVB Board. The LEC Renovation Committee, I'm appointing Mike Utes. He will serve as the board liaison with former Commissioner Dwayne Dries chairing that committee. And that committee can meet on the call of the chairman, Commissioner Dries, or the assigned commissioner, Commissioner Utes, as Commissioner Utes and Dwayne agree or see fit. Commissioner Utes, if you have any issues with regard to meetings that need to be held and do not occur, please report that back to me and I'll handle that accordingly.
So those meetings don't meet relatively every Tuesday as posted now?
That'll be up to the call of the chairman or yourself. Will that work, Robert? Okay. Commissioner Pishney's appointments will be the Finney County Economic Development Court will be assigned to Commissioner Gurman. The West Plains Extension District, which is an important location meeting for Finney County and Scott. Commissioner Baskew, you're appointed to that. And the Planning Commission, I think that it's appropriate that a former chairman of that commission be our assigned liaison commissioner. Vicki, you're appointed to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, have I missed any appointments from our liaison committees or outside agencies?
I don't believe so. I will get those updated, posted on the website, and I will also let those boards know who their new liaison is.
That would be wonderful. I am retaining my position as a board member of Compass Area Mental Health. I will continue as chairman and the county designee of the countywide sales tax oversight committee, our audit committee as needed, and our Finney County fiscal committee as needed. That committee helps prepare the budget, works with the finance or fiscal committee, which is comprised of the clerk, the treasurer, the administrator, and myself, and anyone else the administrator wishes to designate in helping us gather the information and make recommendations on the budget. Those are the committee assignments. I would say that at some point in time that we should have a work session on our governance model with a new commission and make sure that the new commission is in line with what we have published. I'm thinking that after the first monthly meeting in March, that we should have a work session and talk about budget goals and priorities for 2026. And Administrator Reese and it will now be planning to attend that as directed by the commission going forward.
March 3rd?
March 3rd, we'll have a work session. Work sessions will follow the general session, and we'll invite the department heads to come and meet you, especially the new commissioners, so that you get to meet all the department heads at that time. Will that work on your schedule, Robert? All right, very good. It would be helpful if the county councilor could attend that work session as well. Can you make that work?
I can make that work. I guess while we're talking about those, did you want me to attend the joint meeting with the city on the 18th of February?
Absolutely. We'll be talking about that animal contract at that time.
Okay.
And I don't know the full parameters of that, but I think that's a softball that we can work together on and get that done right away. I don't want a long drawn-out affair on something that seems to be fairly simple to me. Maybe it's more complex than I understand it to be.
Oh, you don't know.
Thank you. I can't wait to know things that I don't know, that I should know, but I don't. That we're on our agenda, we don't have anything further. Is there any other business before the commission? If not, a motion to adjourn. And Commissioner Basque, you need to know that Commissioner Dries was always the person who moved to adjourn, so I'm going to have that.
In tradition, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second to adjourn. No discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.